Hello everyone, today we're going to continue with Unit 1 of Diploma of Business Management by looking at the functional areas of business. This is a continuation of the first competency from Unit 1, the nature of business, and this is really foundational in terms of the course. You'll notice in a moment that the entire course is actually structured around these ideas of the functional areas of business. So, what are often called departments, or what we're today calling the functional areas of business, are the ways that we can group the various processes that occur within a business. Now, with the exception of Unit 1, which is called Introduction to Business Management, you can see these terms are familiar because each of the units of the business management course relate directly to one of these functional areas. We have human resources, finance and accounts, marketing, and operations. Every process that occurs within a business can be grouped under one of these categories. Businesses in the real world don't adhere strictly to these 4 departments. There can be many more, as we'll discuss, but each function within a business can fit under one of these categories. Let's get straight into it, and we're going to look at each in turn before talking about the relationship between these departments. First of all, we have human resources, and the human resource department takes charge of all processes related to the staff of the business or organization. These are things like the recruitment of staff, the training of staff, appraising and performance managing those staff, outsourcing and offshoring of functions within the business, dismissals and redundancies, as well as meeting legal requirements of a specific jurisdiction, so making sure that minimum wages or maximum numbers of hours are adhered to. Things like health and safety they can have a say in, although this is often more an operations process. Already seeing those links between the functional departments. It's my experience with human resources that often those working in human resources will have some level of legal training to deal again with those legal requirements, because almost everything here, recruitment, dismissals, redundancies, have some legal requirements that largely depend on the country in which you're operating, but they are legalistic in nature, and if the business doesn't want to get in trouble with the law, they have to adhere to certain practices. There's also the question of ethics within human resources that goes beyond law, but that's for a later part of the unit. Then we have finance and accounts. The finance and accounts team are responsible for the flow of money through the business and the long-term financial planning and management. This is things like invoicing for clients and paying to suppliers, record keeping, things like ensuring there are cash flow statements and balance sheets and all other manner of documentation up to date, the reporting of the financial state of the business to the executive team or to other stakeholders like shareholders. And also they're involved in the strategic planning around large expenditures, say for new capital equipment or other planned expenditures. The finance and accounts team is part of that. In bigger businesses, even not big ones, but medium-sized ones, I've seen cases where there isn't just one team involved in this area. I've seen it very often split in finance, people who are managing the assets of the business, the expenditures of the business, and the accounts team that deal more with the invoicing and payments side. So both of them are within that department of finance and accounts, but taking on different processes within that. And just shows you that businesses tend to have departments that don't strictly adhere to these 4, but their processes do fall under these 4 categories. Marketing. So the marketing department is responsible for, first of all, identifying the needs and wants of consumers, conducting things like market research, which is a big part of the marketing unit. And also, once we've decided what people want and produced it, the marketing department is also responsible for promoting the products that are made by the business to those consumers, getting it out there, getting it into their hands. Essentially, they're responsible for all of the 7 Ps of the marketing mix with overlap with the other departments. We won't go into those 7 Ps right now, although they are here on the screen, because the 7 Ps is the vast majority of the marketing unit. It will take weeks of lessons to cover all of those 7 points in the detail that's necessary. We would be doing an injustice to go into it here. Then we have operations, and it can be perceived that operations is the most important, but as we'll discuss, operations can't really operate without those other departments that we've just mentioned. The operations, though, are responsible for the creation of the good or the provision of the service. They directly manage the inputs to create the desired output, the product or service that we're trying to create. They're responsible for things like quality control, making sure that the items that we create are of a suitable quality, looking for efficiencies or fighting against inefficiency, and motivating the workforce and structuring that workforce in a way that it can create the desired product or service. It's been mentioned a few times, but these departments are highly interdependent. In pretty much any medium to large size business, the functional areas are separate with their own management or leadership, the idea of having middle management. Those people would then report upwards to the CEO or the executive level. That's not to say that these departments are islands where they are out for themselves, doing their own thing and ignoring the others. For a business to run effectively, each of the departments has to be in very close cooperation. We can't really have a highly functioning marketing department without also a highly functioning operations department. You can't sell a product that doesn't exist. The operations department and the marketing department also can't run without proper management of the financial resources. And none of them at all can run without the proper human resources to make it all possible. Any scenario that we introduce requires effort and competence from each of those functional areas of the business. When we get a breakdown where we have, different teams who are underperforming or outperforming the others, we start to get imbalances within the business and, we start to have problems. So each of those leaders within those functional areas has to be in very close contact with the others, and the employees also have to have a good understanding of what happens in each of the different areas as well. We get into this in quite some more detail in the operations unit, but it often comes up in questions, these relationships between the departments. And it's really a thought exercise. If you put your mind to it, you can very easily consider how each of these functional areas contributes to the proper functioning of a business in any given scenario. And I suggest that you, as you go around in your daily life, think about how each area of that business might contribute to the product or service that you yourself are using when you go to buy a cup of coffee in the morning. How do each of those functional areas of business, even if you can't see them, contribute to you receiving that coffee in your hand? Once you start to look at the world through this lens, it's going to help you see that interdependence. That's all for this section of Unit 1. Next video, we'll move on to another competency from Unit 1, the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, which is also has a heavy crossover with the Diploma Economics course, and you might already be familiar with it. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll be able to access all the other videos on the Unit 1 playlist or other videos about Diploma Business Management. Thank you.